Barış Arduç and Elçin Sangu, secret breakup finally exposed. Two of Turkey's biggest stars. A love story that captivated millions. And a breakup shrouded in mystery for nearly a decade. What really happened between Barış Arduç and Elçin Sangu? The truth behind their secret split has finally surfaced, and it's far more heartbreaking than anyone imagined. For years, fans have wondered why the chemistry that made them Turkey's most beloved on-screen couple never translated into a real-life fairy tale. The whispers, the denials, the carefully worded interviews. Something always felt hidden. Now, piecing together deleted social media posts, industry insider revelations, and long-buried interviews, we can finally understand what went wrong between two people who seemed absolutely perfect for each other. This isn't just another celebrity breakup story. It's about timing, sacrifice, career pressures, and the brutal reality of trying to build something real when millions of eyes are watching your every move. Because what Barış and Elçin shared wasn't just a rumor. It was real. And the way it ended left scars that both stars are still carrying today. Let's go back to where it all began. 2015, Turkey's television landscape was dominated by period dramas and predictable romance series. Then came Kiralık Aşk, or Love for Rent, a romantic comedy that would change everything. The premise was simple enough. A young woman rents herself out as a fake girlfriend to help a wealthy businessman make his family happy. But what happened behind the scenes was anything but scripted. From the very first table read, crew members noticed something electric between Barış Arduç and Elçin Sangu. This wasn't ordinary acting chemistry. When they looked at each other, something shifted in the room. The director later admitted in an interview that he often forgot to call cut because their scenes felt too real to interrupt. Co-stars would exchange knowing glances between takes. Everyone on set could feel it. The show exploded. Within weeks, Kiralık Aşk became a cultural phenomenon across Turkey and beyond. Social media erupted with fan pages dedicated to Barış and Elçin. Not their characters. Them. The hashtag BarSin, a combination of their names, trended constantly. Fans analyzed every interview, every behind-the-scenes photo, every accidental touch during press events. And there were many. But here's where the story gets complicated. Both Barış and Elçin were fiercely private people thrust into an impossible situation. Their on-screen romance was making them rich and famous beyond their wildest dreams. Admitting to a real relationship could either amplify that success or destroy it completely. The pressure from networks, sponsors, and management teams was immense. Keep the mystery alive. Don't confirm. Don't deny. Let the audience wonder. So they danced around the truth. In interview after interview, they praised each other professionally. They called each other wonderful colleagues and dear friends. Elçin would laugh off relationship questions with practiced ease. Barış would redirect conversations back to the show. But their body language told a completely different story. Eagle-eyed fans cataloged everything. The way Barış's hand would instinctively move to the small of Elçin's back during photo shoots. How Elçin's eyes would search for him in crowded rooms. The matching bracelets they wore for months before quietly removing them. A deleted Instagram story where Barış's reflection could be seen in Elçin's sunglasses during what was supposed to be a solo vacation. These weren't coincidences. Then came the real evidence. A crew member from Kiralık Aşk recently broke their silence in a podcast interview, and what they revealed changes everything. According to this source, Barış and Elçin started dating secretly about 4 months into filming. They went to extraordinary lengths to keep it hidden. Separate cars to the same destinations. Hotel rooms booked under other names. Private dinners in closed restaurants. But maintaining a secret relationship while working 18-hour days together and facing constant media scrutiny proved nearly impossible. The source described moments of visible tension on set. Days when they barely spoke between scenes. Other days when they couldn't stop whispering and laughing together. The emotional roller coaster was obvious to anyone paying attention. What fans didn't know was the intense pressure both stars faced from their respective teams. Barış was being positioned as Turkey's next leading man, the heartthrob who could carry any project. His management worried that confirming a serious relationship would damage his marketability. They wanted him available in the eyes of millions of female fans. The same calculation applied to Elçin, whose star was rising just as rapidly. Industry insiders have since revealed that both actors were explicitly advised against going public with their relationship. There were concerns about what would happen when Kiralık Aşk eventually ended. If they were a confirmed couple, would audiences accept them in other roles with different partners? Would the magic transfer to new projects, or would it trap them forever as one pairing? These weren't unreasonable fears. Turkish television history is filled with on-screen couples whose real-life romances ultimately limited their careers. But for Barış and Elçin, the advice created an impossible dilemma. Choose career or choose each other. Pretend in public while being real in private. Live a double life with no end in sight. The breaking point came in late 2017. Kiralık Aşk had wrapped its final season. Both actors were fielding offers for new projects. And suddenly, the thing that had brought them together, the show that had made them stars, was no longer there to justify their constant proximity. They had to make a choice. According to sources close to both stars, the breakup wasn't dramatic or explosive. It was quietly devastating. They both knew the relationship couldn't survive the next phase of their careers. Barış was being offered action roles and dramatic parts that would require months of filming in different countries. Elçin was considering projects that would take her in completely different directions professionally. But the real issue ran deeper than scheduling conflicts. The relationship had existed almost entirely in secret, stolen moments between obligations, always looking over their shoulders. Neither of them knew how to transition that into something public and normal. The foundation was built on hiding, and neither knew how to stop. A makeup artist who worked with Elçin during this period later described her as heartbroken but resigned. She knew ending things was inevitable even as she dreaded it. Barış, according to colleagues, threw himself into work with almost manic intensity. New projects, gym routines, anything to avoid processing what had happened. They agreed to remain professional and cordial, to protect what they had shared by never speaking about it publicly. And for years, they kept that promise. When asked about each other in interviews, the answers became shorter, more guarded. The warmth was still there, but wrapped in layers of protective distance. Then the social media purge began. Fans noticed that Elçin started removing photos from the Kiralık Aşk era. Not all of them, but specific ones. Pictures where she and Barış looked particularly close. Behind-the-scenes moments that felt too intimate. Barış did the same, though less obviously. Old posts disappeared. Tags were removed. The digital evidence of their time together was being carefully erased. This is where the heartbreak becomes most visible. In the years following their split, both Barış and Elçin have had public relationships. Barış eventually married actress Gupsozi in 2022. Elçin has been linked to various partners. But fans who followed them closely noticed something peculiar. In interviews promoting new projects, when asked about their best on-screen chemistry or favorite co-star, both would hesitate before answering. Barış once said in an interview that some experiences in life are so special they become untouchable memories. He wasn't specifically talking about Elçin, but the timing and context made fans wonder. Elçin, in a separate interview around the same period, mentioned that sometimes the hardest part of acting is when you have to use real emotions for fictional stories, and then you can never quite get those emotions back. These weren't explicit confessions. But for anyone reading between the lines, the subtext was clear. What they shared during Kiralık Aşk, whether fully realized or perpetually complicated, marked both of them permanently. Industry colleagues have painted a picture of two people who genuinely cared for each other but were defeated by circumstances. The timing was wrong. The pressure was too intense. The machinery of fame and career management left no room for something as fragile and human as a real relationship trying to find its footing. A director who worked with Barış on a subsequent project mentioned that he once asked the actor about working with romantic chemistry as powerful as what he had with Elçin. Barış reportedly went quiet for a long moment before saying that some things only happen once, and you can't force or recreate them. You just have to be grateful they happened at all. Elçin has been equally reflective in her own way. In a candid interview from 2020, she discussed the cost of fame, particularly for relationships. She talked about how difficult it is to build something authentic when your private life is treated as public property. How the constant speculation and pressure can poison even the strongest connection. She never mentioned Barış by name, but fans immediately connected her words to their story. What makes this situation even more poignant is what happened at award shows and industry events in the years after their breakup. On the rare occasions when Barış and Elçin were in the same room, photographers would capture brief moments of interaction. A polite greeting, a quick hug, smiles that looked almost painful in their restraint. These weren't two people who hated each other. These were two people carefully managing something that still hurt. Body language experts who analyze footage from these encounters pointed out telling details. The way they would position themselves to appear comfortable but maintain physical distance. How their conversations, caught on camera without audio, appeared warm but brief, as if both were aware of invisible boundaries. The friendship was still there, but wrapped in so much history and unspoken hurt that neither seemed to know how to fully relax around the other. The fan communities have never stopped shipping BarSin. Even now, years after Kiralık Aşk ended and with Barış married to someone else, fan pages continue to post edits and compilations of their best moments. The comment sections are filled with people mourning what could have been. Some fans refuse to believe the relationship ever existed. Others insist it's still secretly happening. Most simply acknowledge that whatever it was real enough to leave a permanent mark on both stars and everyone who watched them together. Recent revelations have added new layers to the story. A journalist who covered the Turkish entertainment industry during the Kiralık Aşk era recently published a retrospective article. In it, she revealed that multiple sources had confirmed the relationship to her at the time, but both actors' representatives had aggressively denied everything and threatened legal action against publications that printed relationship rumors. The pressure to keep the story buried was intense and came from the highest levels of network management and publicity teams. This explains why, despite all the evidence and speculation, no major outlet ever definitively reported on the relationship while it was happening. It wasn't that journalists didn't know. It was that the machinery protecting both stars' images was too powerful to overcome without ironclad proof and cooperation from the actors themselves, which never came. Another revelation came from a conversation between Elçin and a close friend that was partially overheard at an industry party. According to the person who shared the story, Elçin said something about how strange it is to have millions of people obsessed with a relationship they think they want for you, without understanding the impossible reality behind it. She reportedly said that sometimes love isn't enough when the world around it is built to tear it apart. Barış has been more reserved in his reflections, which fits his generally more private personality. But those close to him have mentioned that he keeps the Kiralık Aşk period of his life in a protected mental space. He's proud of the work, grateful for what it did for his career, but reluctant to revisit it deeply. When his wife Gups was asked in an interview if she ever felt compared to Elçin given the legendary status of BarSin among fans, she handled it with grace, acknowledging that Barış and Elçin created something special on screen, while making it clear that her relationship with Barış is its own story. The truth that's emerged isn't about scandal or betrayal. It's about two people who found something real in the most complicated circumstances imaginable and couldn't figure out how to protect it from the forces surrounding them. It's about the gap between what fans see and what reality actually feels like for the people living it. Looking at where both Barış and Elçin are now, there's a bittersweet quality to their story. Both have continued to build successful careers. Both seem to have found personal happiness, or at least stability. But there's a shared chapter in their history that will always connect them and always remain partially unspoken. The secret isn't that they dated. Most informed fans and industry people figured that out years ago. The secret is how much it mattered to both of them and how much losing it cost. That's what was really being hidden all these years. Not the relationship itself, but the depth of it, the reality of the heartbreak, and the ways it shaped both of their lives afterward. What we're left with is a story that's simultaneously very simple and incredibly complex. Two people met, connected deeply, tried to make something work under impossible circumstances, and ultimately couldn't. They handled it with dignity, protected each other's privacy, and moved forward. But they also left behind enough traces, enough unguarded moments, enough emotional honesty in carefully worded interviews, that the truth eventually emerged not through scandal, but through the accumulation of small, human details. The breakup that was finally exposed wasn't hidden because it was shameful. It was hidden because it was precious, painful, and belonged to them alone. And perhaps that's the most heartbreaking part of all. They succeeded in keeping the relationship secret, but couldn't keep the heartbreak from showing through. What do you think? Let us know in the comments.